when you were done with those 3 films with him, you basically, I think, your relationship with Paramount was severed, and you decide you're going to go to Europe, sort of the Clint Eastwood model of let's see what can happen with a career in Europe. He had done very well.
There are 2 stories about that. First is when I was in trouble with Paramount, these studio heads get together on the golf course and say, "Don't use our girl. She's giving us a lot of trouble." I was blackballed in Hollywood. I couldn't work. So, and I had seen Marilyn we used to go to the same Italian restaurant. And when she was fired by 20th Century Fox, I went up to the booth where she was sitting with her publicity girl. And I said to her, "Marilyn, you don't have to take this. Do you know how huge you are all over the world? Go to Europe. They'll throw flowers at your feet." And she looked at me and said, "Carroll, I can't because I'm alone."
Oh, jeez.
But then I took my own advice.
Well, let me go backwards for a second, though, and just ask you. I mean, I believe it was 1962 when she passed away suddenly, and she had in some ways, a similar trajectory to yours in that she was very beautiful, she was very talented, but she was very frustrated that not everyone gave her the opportunities that she felt she could live up to. And I just wonder, when you heard what had happened to her,
I felt very bad. Of course I felt terrible, but it wasn't unexpected. We all knew that the amount of pills and everything that she took. As a matter of fact, she used to go out in the evening. Oh gosh, I'm getting in trouble for saying this. She used to go out in the evening with the Rat Pack and sit at their table, and she would drink straight vodka with Seconal sleeping pills. And they would take her out the back door and put her in a taxi. They didn't even take her home, those guys. Put her in a taxi and tell him how to take her up to the door and throw her into the foyer. So it wasn't too much of a shock. She was a very unhappy lady.
Let me ask you one other thing about life before you left Hollywood for Europe, and that is, in the last few years, we've all been reading about terrible stuff that's happened, let's say, in the last few decades in Hollywood with all of this, this Me Too movement and the stuff about Harvey Weinstein and other people. I am quite sure that it didn't start with Harvey Weinstein, and I wonder if you were aware of stuff like that back when you were in your...
Well, yeah, there always used to be a joke about the casting couch, and I was only asked once to lie down on the casting couch, and I just walked out the door. My heart is broken for Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby did not deserve, at his age and the condition he's in, and he's a wonderful human being, absolutely wonderful. And I can't bear the fact that he's in prison. And I don't think it was his fault. I'll tell you what, I think, these women who come up from years afterwards, first of all, why did they go to a secluded place with him? What did they go for? And then he offered them this drink, and that was the thing that sent him really to jail, the fact that he gave them this drink. Knowing Bill, and how wonderful and how funny and how great he is, and a very sexy man. He's a very sexy man. And I'm sure he said to them, "Hey, look, I've got this potion, and you drink it, and it'll heighten everything for us." I don't know that, but I'm almost certain that that's what he did. And the lawyer never said to any of these women, "Well, did he take the back of your hair and pull your head back and throw that drink down your throat?" No, they did it voluntarily.
Man, but just to play devil's advocate here, if somebody invited you over, right, to their home when you were, let's say 20, 30 years old.
You would know it. Come on, you know.
But wait, let me finish. They give you a drink, you black out,
No. That's not the way it happened. First of all, he courted them, and they were very excited about him. Both of them were excited. And I'm sure, I mean, why would you go into a secluded place with a man to pay pinochle? What would you go into a secluded place for? And I'm sure they were all entranced with him. And I have a feeling that that drink was just an aphrodisiac, and he did not force them to take it. He just offered it to them. And I think it's a sin that he's in jail. Now, Harvey Weinstein is another case. I mean, he's a maniac. I don't blame them for putting him in jail. But also these days, I hate the fact that these women do this, that they come back from years before and they ruin a man's career. Also, we fought for the vote. We fought to have the same wages as men. What the hell do you let a man do that to you for? I wouldn't let a man do that to me. If he made any pass at me, I would tell him how ugly and disgusting and filthy he was, and get away from me, and I hate you, and I'd hit him if I could. We're not in the 18th century where we're wearing hoop skirts. So women, stick up for yourself and stop playing like you're such a little girl. Oh.
So to your knowledge, though, there was, I know you're saying there was the casting couch in those days of when you were in Hollywood, but was there, that would suggest that there was an understanding, if you sleep with me, I will give you a part. But do you think there was stuff that was also non-consensual?
No, I don't think so. I think, a lot of these girls who'd never been to acting school had no talent. They were just pretty. And the casting director who had such a, I don't think he gave them a starring role, but he got them started in movies. And yeah, they went on the casting couch.
So just last 2 minutes, if it's okay, I'll just ask you, you had those years in Europe where you were extremely popular with the parts you were doing there. They were maybe a little bit more of the sexy parts that you had tried to get away from, but whatever. I mean, you got to put a roof over the head, right? And you had kids.
That's right. No, and that's what I was known for in Europe. So yeah, that's the parts that I did. I had my 2 children with me, and I was separated from my husband. I had to earn a living.
Of course, and but eventually you do come back to the States, and I just want to mention, people should remember, Andy Warhol's Bad in 1977, Star 80 in 1983, Ironweed in 1987, Kindergarten Cop in 1990, David Fincher with the Game in 1997, who, by the way, it's kind of funny because you're probably the only person who worked with both William Wyler and David Fincher, who are both known for doing 1 million takes of every scene. I don't know if you have,
and George Stevens had the same reputation.
Yeah. So, but eventually it's 2003, and I guess you made a decision, like, I'm going to retire from acting?
What happened was that I was living in Italy, loving living in Italy, and Andy Warhol was so famous. His movies were so famous in Italy, and first of all, I met him in Rome because I lived in this beautiful palazzo with these very wealthy people downstairs, and I had rented the upstairs. And they had Andy Warhol for lunch, and they invited me down. So that's how I met him. And then when this movie came along, he offered me the part, and it was the first real script that he'd done in a long time, And I liked the script very much, and yes, I wanted to do it. But mainly, I wanted to do it because it was so famous in Italy.
Okay.
It was an enormous success in Italy. Enormous. And everybody loved me for having done it. And then once I was back, I did a film here and there.
So last question, and I so appreciate your time here. I just am wondering, there are not many people who have had a career like yours, and so I wonder the one thing, which is, or there are also not many people who have ever been as beautiful as you, right? And so my question is, do you think that being a great beauty was more of a help or a hindrance to your career?
You're joking. There's a Yiddish saying, It's better to be beautiful and rich than it is to be ugly and poor.
Well, yes, but I mean, you were also very talented. Would you think if you had, do you think that your parts were, your opportunities, I know that it gets you in the door, right? But did it also then limit what you would have liked to have done?
Oh, no, I never felt limited in any way when I was in Hollywood. No, it's just when I had this big blow up with Joe Levine and Paramount, and I was finished.
Yeah. So what are you most proud of as you look back at it? I mean, this is 90 years.
Dog will always be my favorite. My God, what a brilliant Tennessee Williams script it is. And you know, it's his only original film script. His only original. And it was based on 2 of his short plays, but it's the only original script because everything else had been done on the stage first.
Well, it's such a treat to get to speak with you, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time and keep going strong. I mean, I know what you're saying. It must be hard to lose friends, but you carry the torch, please, for many, many more years.